Welcome into Mile High Territory. Ryan Spilborghs, Troy Renck. We have a big show for you today because I know a lot of people around baseball, they're looking for prospects getting called up. So we'll definitely get into Charlie Condon. We'll explain if he will or if he won't get called up to the Rockies at some point. We'll also reflect on Zack Veal. Zack Veal has returned, and on Wednesday it was really, really special, or on Tuesday. It was really special to see him hit the home run against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll break that down as well, and then get you set up for this weekend with the Giants and the Rock Show. Troy, how are you today?
Doing fantastic. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to be seen. All right, so let's get into Arizona. This was really fun for me as a dad. I've been able to take my son Tatum to two road trips, so two dad and son trips in the last month, which is the first time we've ever been able to do that. So he went with me to San Diego, and we went out for early batting practice. We had a day off there. And then this last week, he was like, Dad, can I please go on another trip with you? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So we went to Arizona. It was great. We had a chance to, watch the Rockies win a series against the Diamondbacks. We did a little tennis. We got to see Matt Holliday in the holidays Wednesday night. So you talk about like a great experience of sharing baseball, which was the first time I've been able to have him on a work trip. So it was cool. And you know what? You've experienced that with your kiddos, the occasional work trip, bringing your son on a road trip. So I am refreshed, to say the least. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, when your family's able to do it, and it's not very often, just the nature of it because there's limitations. But I took my kids and my wife to Wrigley Field. My wife went to Montreal with me. My kids went to the All-Star game where Matt finished second in the home run derby. And we try to get a trip each year where they could go, and get there early. And so see me during early, I'd sweet talking Usher to try to get them in the stadium early so they could get down for early batting practice and get autographs. And yeah, you just want them to feel part of it. I was fortunate that my kids loved baseball. They both work in baseball, one with the Giants and one with Pepperdine. So I've lucked out that way. But yeah, it just makes you feel a little whole because you're on the road covering baseball and you're doing it. I'm not anymore. I did it for since 15 straight years of 200 to 250 nights on the road. It's like being divorced half of the year. I mean, you live this weird life of on the road, you're a Spartan, and you get up and you have nothing. You just get up, go eat, try to work out, and you work. And like, it's just this very linear existence. And then when you get home, you're like, man, you miss it a bit. And then when your kids get older, they're not going to be spending time with
No.
dad. I mean, you got to have that relationship sooner than that. So yeah, I'm really happy for you to do that because those moments, it's funny. I mean, how many games you played in? How many games I covered? I don't know how many games. And the games I remember are like my kids being at the NLCS or my kids going to the World Series or spring training. It's usually a game that involves some kind of family memory.
Well, and the reason why I bring it up is because I'm in Toronto right now, or Toronto, or how they say Toronto. Um, George Lombard Jr. is the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees. And of course, Matt Holliday and Jackson, who plays for Baltimore, we'll see him next week, actually in a couple weeks in September. So Jackson Holliday will be coming to Coors Field. And Ethan Holliday, of course, the Rockies' third overall pick from a season ago, grew up in the clubhouse. And that's the one thing, and I've said this, and I've been, I've been disappointed with myself because as a media member, even though I've spent close to 24 years in an offhand way within the Rockies organization. Now, like many people think that I'm employed by the Rockies, I'm not. I'm an independent contractor. I mean, that's how my contract as a media member works. Is I'm an independent contractor. I'm an independent contractor with everything I do. So it's not like I'm hired by anyone specifically, even SiriusXM, where I do loud outs. Is that I'm an independent contractor. And part of the reason why, if people are curious about that from a broadcasting standpoint, is when we do like majority of broadcasters are independent contractors. So we do an event and then we bill. So the reason why you do that is for insurance and benefits. Like big organizations don't want to spend the money on your benefits and insurance because that's expensive. So that's majority of teams around Major League Baseball They don't have their broadcasters as team employees. There's only a handful of teams that do that. And so as a media member, I don't get the same privileges if I was a coach, right? Like, or if I was a player. So bringing my son into the clubhouse, I have to ask permission, and you have to kind of go through some hoops, and it's not an every time thing. It is very limited to the opportunities. And like George Lombard's kid grew up around the Dodgers. He was raised by Mookie Betts and raised by Freddie Freeman. And if you wonder why these guys are good or why they're comfortable at such a young age, it's because when you're a baseball player, and for any parent out there that's listening or any kid that's out there listening, you're supposed to fail all the time. And so what a kid gets to see is that baseball can be fun even when you're struggling. You're around teammates. Like, the guys love it. They like the work. They like to take grounders. They like to practice. They love to practice. Kyle Karros, who ended up having to come out of a game after hitting a home run, he ran into Ezekiel Tovar, loves to feel grounders. And so when kids are around in that environment and they're taking grounders with dad, they're running around in the outfield, they're cleaning some shoes, they're watching guys work. There's a reason why a lot of these former big leaguers whose kids grew up in a clubhouse end up being successful, because they see how they work, they see how much fun it is to practice, and then they end up getting better and better. Like, for example, Barry Bonds was raised by Willie Mays and his dad, Bobby Bonds. Like, that's who he was raised by. So, like, it's no accident that a lot of former players, their kids end up being professional athletes, not because they have some crazy genes. Yes, they have some genes that help them be better, but they were raised in the environment that shows them failure is okay.
Yeah, I mean, and nowhere do you see that like baseball. Baseball is unique. No team sport does a star player fail more than baseball. Quarterback completes 75% of his passes in the NFL. In the NFL, you have a bad day if you drop one pass. In baseball, you're getting out 7, in most cases now in the league, 8 times out of 10. And kids don't really experience failure in baseball typically until about 13, when the bases change to go to 50, it goes 54-80. And then certainly when it goes to 60-90, the field can outsize the kid, and that ball you hit hard up the middle is now a routine ground ball. I mean, that's where kids, at least in my experience of coaching, they see failure, and it's hard. It's hard. We'll talk about Condon. I talked to Condon about it, this idea of how you deal with failure. And he's just like, he was honest. He gave me this great quote. He's like, I'm not paid to work hard. I'm paid to work hard and produce, but you can't try to squeeze it out of the game. It's like, and I use the line in my column, like, if you want income, you can't focus on outcome. And because when you focus on outcome in baseball, and you and I have talked about this when my youngest son was in a horrible slump one year in college, you've got to embrace the process and just hit the ball hard and not focus on outcome. And God, is that hard? Because you guys define yourself by your stats. And why people say, why do they do that? It's like, well, their stats are pretty good. I would say baseball, as much as anything, teach you about life, about showing up every day and doing your best that day. It doesn't mean that you're going to have your greatest day at work, but I always tell kids, give me the best you have this day. And learning to show up and be accountable to your teammates, that is really part of work. It's just, when you call in sick 20 minutes before your shift, folks, who cares? Well, somebody's going to take your spot, man. I mean, that's just not fair to the team. And I know you don't see your workers as a team, but being a good teammate in life can go a long way, and just being accountable to people.
Science experiment for the 1 minute we have to tell you about why we love Quint's electrolytes, including watermelon salt, raspberry salt, and I'm holding a citrus salt. Just opened it. I'm going to pour some powder into my water, shake it up. And AJ, why do you love it?
I love Quince because after a long night out, a long day at the gym, a long walk in this Florida humidity, it tastes great, and it gives me all the electrolytes I need. Why? Sugar-free, stevia-free, keto-approved, and tastes sweet because of that delicious fermented rice.
It does taste really good. I'm drinking it right now while we talk about it. It's also made in the USA, rigorously third-party tested. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/foul for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/foul. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, so let's get into Zack Veal. Zack Veal, for a lot of fans, he was already on the 40-man roster. Last year had his Major League debut. It was very short-lived. And then we learned this offseason, he ended up, getting sober. It wasn't like this guy's a raging drunk or anything like that. He just had some substance issues with, I believe, marijuana, which that's not, that's not the end of the world for anybody. If it's a problem, you check yourself in and you make sure that, it's not going to handicap what you're trying to do. And so Zack spent the offseason. He worked on himself. We're super proud of him. The kid is such a great kid. Had a little bit of a tough upbringing in Florida, which is a byproduct of what he went through. And then dedicated himself to baseball in a way that he hadn't. So he had to mature. He also needed a mentor, which I believe he has one. So we saw this week and for the Rockies, the timing of it was interesting because Tyler Freeman ends up going on the IL the day before Zack Veal gets called up. And so Edouard Julien gets DFA'd. And it's crazy to think just the timing of it. If Edouard Julien got injured, maybe it was Tyler Freeman getting DFA'd because he was struggling. So the timing of that is kind of, that's baseball. I mean, that's just how the business works. So Zack gets called up and I thought it was really important because I know a lot of people were clamoring for him to get to the big leagues because of all the numbers he was putting up in AAA. The problem that you had is there just wasn't a spot for him. Mickey Moniak, left-handed outfielder. Jake McCarthy, left-handed outfielder. Troy Johnston, left-handed outfielder. Where did you want him to play? You wanted to move on from Troy Johnston, who's been a great story, great teammate. He had no reason to get DFA'd just for a spot. So it took some injuries, and now the roster's in a funky spot as far as trying to find playing time for everybody. But Zack Veal comes back. Those at-bats in the minor leagues were so important. As much as people wanted to see him in the big leagues, those at-bats are going to make him a big leaguer. Those 4 months in AAA, hitting 24 homers, player of the week, all that stuff, he had to kick down the door. He wasn't just going to be given the chance again because he had to prove it. He proved it. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of it, you're just super proud for him, right?
Yeah, listen, Spilly, I got to know Zack a little bit when the Nuggets were in the playoffs last year in Oklahoma City. I was able to set up an interview with Zack and talk to him at length. I mean, and that player I interviewed probably weighed 180 pounds, 185 pounds. And he then the next day he had shaved his head, and you could tell he was he was dealing with some stuff in terms of just kind of right. And I thought it was just the nature of baseball, and someone who maybe has not ADD but just needs something because baseball is so slow moving. And I'm like, man, maybe he just needs more focus, and this is his way. He kind of snaps himself in and out of. But he ran well, but he didn't look like a big leaguer to me, if I'm being honest, last year, because of his body type. He looked more like a college kid than a big leaguer. I was not aware of any of the substance issues. So I certainly didn't talk to him about it then. But I like Zack. I like his energy. I like, I don't want to take the wag out of the puppy's tail. There's a freshness and funness about him that reminds me of a couple of different kids I've coached through the years. And sometimes they drive you crazy, these kids I'm talking about, but they have an energy to them and they play with a spunk. And it's it kind of reminds you of why you play in the first place. And so when he showed up in spring and he was 200, almost 250 pounds, I was like, oh my God, what happened? I didn't recognize him. I'm being honest. I didn't recognize him. I saw him down in the spring when I went down there for a couple of days, and I didn't recognize him. And I'm guessing he's going to get closer to a weight of 230-ish. But he found religion. He found a touchstone spot in his life to focus, a mentor. And I'm not aware of that part of the story, but between religion, mentor, and take care of his body and his diet, and just basically becoming a pro. And because his path has been all over the place because of injuries, ineffectiveness, he's had issues in playing with effort and hustle and all this stuff. And that's why when you say, well, Spilly's why does he have to prove it? Because it was just a lot. It was a lot. And so you need, in this kind of case where this guy kind of answers a bunch of questions. It's not because you figured at some point he's going to produce. He is that talented.
Yes.
But it's how does he show up every day? Is he getting better in the outfield? I think that's probably still a work in the progress. But is he taking that seriously? And he's just started checking every box. And when I talked to people in the front office, they were like, he did what we want. We want damage from him. We want power. We want damage. We want, that. And he comes up and hits a home run. So I'm happy for Zack. Like you said, why didn't it happen sooner? Again, he's left-handed, but Charlie Condon's not.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Charlie Condon's not left-handed, and so.
Well, and that's why I
but
brought
happy
up
for Zack. Really happy for Zack.
Yeah, and I'm ecstatic. I mean, easily, if you got a chance, if you get a chance to meet Zack, he is the sweetest kid. Like, he really is sweet, and he's I don't know, he's the best. I wish him nothing. Like, I will love on that guy forever. Like, that guy's great. All right, let's get into, and the reason why I brought up Zack is on the 40-man roster. This is why we want to talk about Charlie Condon. Charlie Condon is not on the 40-man roster, and we are right in that window in baseball where you may or may not see a lot of prospects getting called. August 14th through the 16th this year is a demarcation line that guarantees that a player will not play more than 45 games in the big leagues. The reason why that's important is that it maintains rookie status for next year. So that allows a guy to kind of get their feet wet. Most of the time you'll see them in September. But the challenge now is that we have this collective bargaining agreement that expires in December of this year, which is going to be a lockout. That is going to happen. It's part of the paperwork with the CBA as they're negotiating the new collective bargaining agreement. It's not a bad thing that you're locked out in December. It's just part of what's going to happen, part of the negotiation process. So it's not the worst thing in the world. What we're concerned about is if the season doesn't start on time. If the season doesn't start on time, that means we lose games. If we lose games, now we have problems. Now we're talking about a strike. And now we're talking about, like, beyond just the normal lockout during that time frame. Now you're talking about, hey, we might lose a season, which we do not want, and it should not happen. But the reason why that's important to note is the guys that are in the minor leagues that are not on the 40-man roster, they can still get treatment. They can still go to the complex. They are not part of the collective bargaining agreement because they are not on the 40-man roster. If you're on the 40-man roster, you are now part of the CBA. You are part of Major League Baseball's union. If you're in the minor leagues, you're not. So what a lot of teams are concerned about is if we have an extended period of no baseball, those minor league players, those prospects, they want them to continue to train, work, and possibly, because the minor league season will not be impacted by a lockout, you can play games. So that is the reason if we don't see Charlie Condon this year, it has nothing to do with Charlie Condon not being ready. It has everything to do with the collective bargaining agreement. And I think that's really important to note, because if you don't realize that, you're going to be ticked off. And so I'm just telling you, like, the reason why you're not going to see a bunch of prospects this year specifically is because organizations want to protect their players so that they can continue to work them so that they're ready for the big leagues.
Let's talk Fabletics, shall we? They have apparel for every season. We're wearing it as we talk about it. It's soft, it's comfortable. I wear it on the show sometimes on FT. What else do you love about it, Kratz?
Well, I have it on right now, and I'm all about quality. But you know what? You know how good your clothes are when you're a parent, and your kids keep stealing all of it. My daughter stole the sweatshirt. My son stole one of my T-shirts. So it's got to be nice looking.
And if it gets a little bit chillier, then it's layering season, and they've got layers for the fall. Shop now at fabletics.com/foul to get 70 to 80% off everything when you sign up as a new VIP. Take a quick style quiz and be sure to select foul when prompted to unlock this offer. This is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Again, that's fabletics.com/FOUL for 70 to 80% off everything as a new VIP.
Yes, and that's, I have a column at the Denver Post on Charlie Condon that's in there today that explains some of this. But the other part of it is, I had a baseball person tell me how I trust and, respect. It's like bringing him up would be malpractice because it's wasting a 40-man spot. Because Spilly knows after, I think it's 4 years, you have to be protected on the 40-man or you're then exposed to the Rule 5 draft. Condon is not there yet. They don't have to put him on the 40-man. Some prospects are going to get put on, and you'll be, why did he get on? He didn't. Well, unless you're 4 years out, they don't have to put you on. So when you're in a rebuilding process, as the Rockies are, you could argue, do they want to use a 40-man spot on Charlie when maybe there's someone else they want to protect as you're a team in the rebuilding process? I don't get the sense that's really power in the argument. The argument for them not to bring him up is everything Spilly said, where you're not able to go to the complex. And remember, as he's saying, the minor league's going to have a spring training, and they're going to have games. Their schedule is going to go on. And so how valuable is that in terms of his development? That's the question, is would it derail his development if you call him up, he gets 75 at-bats, and then he's locked out? Would that derail his development? Or would you rather have him stay off the 40-man, report to spring training, come to Phoenix for 2 or 3 weeks this winter, work out, deal with coaches, map out plans, and then play what would be a diluted AAA schedule or diluted AAA competition, because a lot of guys would be missing. It would be affecting a lot of people. My argument, the flip side, is that this little known rule, the 2022 collective bargaining agreement that they ironed out the last one, if he comes up, he's promoted, it gives you and does not lose his rookie status. And he's not going to get promoted in this 45-game window. I could bring him up Monday or Tuesday, whenever that is. But as long as you don't exceed 45 games or 130 at-bats, you maintain your rookie status. And if you come up the next year and win Rookie of the Year, you get a sandwich pick in the first round.
Yep.
And you're like, Troy, a little presumptuous here. Hey, I'd like Condon's chances. Everyone from his class in the top 10's already up, except he and a guy from the Nationals. I mean, Jack Caglione, Nick, the Kurtz from all the big guys, they're all up. I'd like his chances as a 24-year-old rookie playing every day and hitting at Coors Field. And if I'm the Rockies, I would lean toward the bold of Charlie's checked the boxes. He's played right field. He's played first base. His swing decisions are good. He's gotten better over his last 50 games. I want to reward him for that. And secondly, Spilly, the pick. And thirdly, I can trust this kid. He's mature. He can work out at Georgia. He's not going to be in the middle of nowhere off a tee in a farm with, meat throwing in BP. Like, he can go to Georgia's facility. He can go to anywhere near Atlanta where about 5 million MLB guys live and find workouts. So I would I would go with the bold. Bring Condon up, put him in right field, get him 100 at-bats. Because I think, Spilly, and I'll ask you, I think he could benefit more from the success and failure of those at-bats and then apply a roadmap when the season ends than he could from coming up and working out the facility and participating in a diluted AAA league.
Yeah, it's not a bad thought, because look, you go back to Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll won the Rookie of the Year in 2023, but played in September of 2022. Got exposed a little bit. Also got a taste of what it felt like to play every day, because that month of September is a grind, especially if you've never played a full season before. And then he took off in 2023, won the Rookie of the Year, got the sandwich pick for the Diamondbacks, and ended up, being a great player. Now he has a multi-year extension, and he's still one of the best players in baseball. So I like that path. It makes sense to me to do something like that. But again, this is a higher pay grade decision, because you have concerns about the collective bargaining agreement. And for that, I don't blame teams for wanting to continue the development of a player by not putting them on the 40-man, and then you lose contact with them when the lockout occurs, because it's going to happen. That's going to happen.
I asked Condon about it, because it's funny. Anyone in baseball, if you ask them about a labor issue in terms of the MLBPA or front office, they're like, hey, we can't talk about it. I mean, It literally is like they've signed an NDA as it relates to the labor. Like it's the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce wedding. Labor? Nope, can't talk. Sorry. But when you talk, I asked Condon about it. He's like, listen, they always tell us don't play GM. I'm not going to play commissioner. I just have to do my job. But I did tell him, I said, Charlie, I said, when you came out, I'll be honest, I like Jack Caglione coming out just for his left-handed power at Coors. And I love Condon too. And I said, does it does it hurt or painful when all these guys have come up, including Caglione, a guy he played against, Georgia versus Florida? You know, he's got 21 home runs this year. He's got a chance to finish 20.
He's turned into a really good player.
Right. And Charlie, and I said, this is why I believe he should come up. Literally, the maturity of this answer. He said to me, I've had to learn to be patient through my baseball career. When all my other buddies were getting offers for D1 and colleges, I wasn't getting anything. And he said, you can be sour about that, or you can be happy for your friends and cheer on their success and root for them. He said, I've become good friends with Jack. I'm going to go to his wedding this offseason. I love the fact he's doing well. So I'm not going to worry and compare myself to someone else. My journey, and he knows, was affected by his injury. First pro game, breaks his wrist. He would have been up by now. He's like, I want to celebrate others and then get my turn. And I'm like, okay, he gets it. There's no reason. Like, when he's got that kind of attitude, that kind of maturity, for me, he's got to come up, Spilly. And don't you benefit from seeing pitching in September? You lived it. And like, I know Tulo did. Yes. Tulo hit like 212 in 2006. People forget that. He came up for like 5 weeks in 2006. He struck out a lot. I mean, he was a great fielder, but he struck out a lot. He didn't, I mean, I can look it up. I think it was around 220 off the top of my head. And then he comes up in 2007 and it looks like he invented baseball.
Yeah.
I just think for those high-end guys, specifically, there's an advantage to experiencing the highs and lows for 5 weeks of the major leagues.
I
or
don't
4 weeks.
Again, I don't disagree with you. And Tulo was number 14 in that September, and then he ended up being 2, and maybe that's the big change. But you're right. I mean, you got to get a taste of it. But again, like, there's a different little variable here that I think a lot of organizations already. I'm looking at MLB trade rumors. There's not a bunch of top prospects getting called up today. And I don't have a lot of information on guys that will get called up this weekend. So I think we're going to see a lot less top prospects in baseball getting called up this year specifically, which is unfortunate. All right, before we go, Rockies take on the Giants this weekend in San Francisco. They just beat the Diamondbacks, which was great. And so it'll be a nice little series for the Rockies before they come back. I am competing on Saturday for the Savannah Bananas. So if you're at the Bananas game, you will see me taking a bat. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, Troy, that'll do it for us today on Mile High Territory. When we come back on Monday, maybe we'll look at the highlight of me. Hopefully I hit a bomb. I want to be the first one that does it.
That would be fantastic. Are you going to dance? Is your shirt going to be off?
Only if I hit a homer. Only if I hit a homer.
Okay.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.